Boy, this one definitely drew me out of apathy. I was just sitting here trying to do my own thing, trying to work on my project a little bit, and my fiance in the background playing some stuff on her laptop, and came across this video upload, which just automatically caused me to hit the brakes like hyper fast and started mouthing off my opinion. I'm like, this thing only went like, what, 30 seconds or 40 seconds into the whole introduction when I just decided I needed to stop and just go ahead and address this. And initially I thought it was just going to be one thing, but from what I'm gathering from the title, it looks like this is going to be several things to address, and it's going to cover at least a few parts. And I'm attracted to these things because of the fact that it seems like black women still don't get it. Now, as was explained to me also, that this particular uploader, Leo July 2481, was not a single mother, who's someone who is married and whatnot. And again, as I said, that's really irrelevant. The relevant thing is you're asking a series of questions which, honestly, at this stage in the game, everybody should already know the answers to. So why do we need to keep reiterating the exact same thing over and over and over again? But then again, I guess that's what they say, the sign of insanity. You just keep doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. Well, I'm sorry, but you keep asking the same questions, the truthful answers are going to be the same. And me and my connection to insanity is, for as much as I keep saying I'm going to stay away from it, I keep supplying those same answers over and over again. So which of the two of us, or which of those of us on opposite sides of the scale, are really the more insane of the two? I vote for myself on that one, actually and honestly, because, as again, like I said, I don't even know why I bother wasting my time, wasting my breath, wasting my effort, knowing damn well that essentially anything that I say at this stage in the game is essentially just going to be preaching to the choir, because the people who put on this pretense, and that's the key I want to make, and this is why I get so upset with this, is just that people keep making these pretenses of not knowing what's really going on. Oh, why is this way? Why do people act that way? Why are we doing this, and why can't we get together about this, that, and the other? And the answers are right there, smack dead in your face, and they keep coming up smack dead in your face, and nobody pretends, everybody pretends like, oh, you're speaking a foreign language to me, I didn't understand anything you say, or you're not answering my question. You weren't listening. But I don't know, my claim to insanity, I suppose I have to do this. And since this is going to cover at least two things, because again, based upon just what I've heard just within the first 40 seconds of this, yes, that's how obsessive compulsive I am about this whole blasted thing, that I couldn't let 40 seconds go by before I decided, let me try again. Why do I keep putting myself through this? I don't know. I'm a masochist, maybe. I don't know. But just for the possibility, just a slight possibility, that just might be a few out there who still don't quite get it, who still don't quite understand it, or maybe they keep running into people who are half-stepping it, or they're kind of like not being very forceful about it, or not being very clear about it. Let me shatter the mold already and listen up, because as I've said before, and as I will keep saying, I don't pull punches. Now, if people get offended, then guess what? That's your fault, and that's your problem. It's not mine, because I've come to a full acceptance and a full appreciation of truth and reality. And if nobody else is up on that same level with me, then I can't be faulted for your being felt uneasy and your feathers getting ruffled and you're feeling like, oh, he offended me and I take that back and you need to watch what you know. Because as I've said and as I keep saying, the truth is the one constant in this universe. Everything always goes back to truth. Now, I don't care how you try to brush it up and embellish it and twist it and distort it or pretty it up. If there's truth, I'm going to call it out for where it lies. Accept it as you will, or reject it as you will, but the truth will be presented. And so, in order to do this, I decided the best way that I can do this is to just go ahead, play the entire video, get the important clips out where questions are raised, and just answer each question as they're raised. And as always, just let the chips fall where they may. So with that, let me stop running my mouth, and let's go into this whole fantasy parade again about how people don't understand why black men do what they do. I'm not saying whether they're good, bad, right, wrong, or indifferent. I'm just here to give an explanation. Take it for what you think it's worth.
This video will be called Questions for the Black Man. Why are there so many brothers that are extremely hard on black single mothers, but they give the non-existing black father a pass? I simply don't understand that.
Well, actually, you answered your own question just a few seconds later, so let me let you go ahead and answer your own question.
A baby is conceived by man and woman. One cannot have a child without the other one, meaning that you need eggs and you need sperm, of course. So a woman doesn't produce sperm, she produces eggs. So therefore, since you need both components, a man and a woman, why are people only being hard on single mothers and they're giving the fathers a pass to do whatever they want?
Because, step closely, children, and I want you to put your ears very close to the speakers so you hear this and you hear it clearly. It's nature. That's why. It's the nature of life on Earth for typically the male animal to be a sperm depository system. That's essentially what it comes down to. Now see, here's the trick that we humans in our great intellect, supposedly we're such on the highest level of intelligence on the face of planet Earth, we observe all this stuff in the animal kingdom, and yet we totally ignore the fact that we're animals ourselves, and that we also have an instinctive nature about ourselves, and that were it not for our morality, whether you think that it's some invented thing based on religious ideology or some self-delusion, or you think that it's the basis of maintaining a strong society, whatever, but were it not for our morality, we would be no different than any other animal out there in the animal kingdom, which is, in the case of the male, deposit sperm, move on. You have a few exceptions to that rule, but generally speaking, the job of the male animal is to deposit semen and then split, and or in a lot of cases deposit sperm into as many willing receptacles as he can find. And see, that goes back to exactly what I just said, willing. See, this is what, not just black women, but it seems like black women are the most cursed with this. They want to keep playing this delusional game of, it's not my fault that I had a baby. Yes, it is. Because, first of all, you have final right of refusal. Unless you're raped, nobody gets inside of you to deposit sperm. So, unless that happens, you uphold 100% responsibility for your impregnated state. Not him, you. Because you have to be willing to allow this risk to enter inside of you, and you yourself just stated it. It takes a sperm in order to impregnate, to fertilize an egg. Knowing that, going in, knowing that that's the risk you're going to take, then I don't want to hear any excuses later on down the line when you get left holding the package and it's like, oh, the father's not involved. Guess what? Nature says fathers don't get involved, with rare exceptions. Lion prides, for example, many bird species, where there's actually some involvement of the male, and typically in those situations there's some semblance of monogamy going on for the protection of the offspring. But generally speaking, once the female animal has been inseminated, the male goes off and does his own kuleana. That's his job is done at that point. Mom's left holding the bag, and that's the way nature designed it. So again, if you want to say that we're creatures of morality because we're on some higher spiritual level, or we're on some higher plane of existence, or whatever, as far as our place in this life on earth, okay, you're granted to that. But still, despite our moral leanings, and despite our social construction of how we're to live our lives and how we're supposed to interact on a social and societal level, does not negate the fact that we are still at our very core creatures of instinct. Knowing that, and knowing the fact that men's natural inclination is to impregnate and move on, if you understand that, then why go into a situation knowing that from the get-go? This is why we invented marriage, so that we could dupe the male who's into overriding his natural inclinations to inseminate and move on. But see, this is also why in other more what you might consider primitive societies based upon our Western way of thinking, but this is why other societies have no issues with polygamy or polygyny, or however anybody wants to say that. The situation where a male who is capable can have access to as many women that are willing to give themselves over to him and essentially share. Now see, human females being as they are, we have this jealousy streak where I don't want to share my male with a bunch of other females. But in other societies, even though those jealousies exist, they understand it's like, hey, if this is what keeps him home with me, he can have all these extra women as long as we're all together. As long as I don't have to worry about he's putting on this pretense of we're having a family together, and then he's going to go running off and behind my back and do what he's naturally going to do. There's that word again, natural. So again, understand this. It's human nature because it's animal nature. And because it's both human nature and animal nature for men/males to spray their seed all through the four corners of the earth, then you have to understand and you have to acknowledge that no matter how badly the man wants to go squirt seed all over the place, he's going to have to squirt it on the ground or in the palm of his hand or something until he finds a willing receptacle. That's why the heavier burden of responsibility falls into the laps and onto the shoulders of the woman. Because in order for her to get pregnant, she has to accept the risk of pregnancy. It's time to stop deluding yourselves. And it's time to stop playing this game of, well, it's the man's fault too. No, it isn't. Because were it not for the willing receptacle, he would have not had any opportunity to impregnate anyone. That's the way the game works. So until you remove all obstacles and open your legs willingly, then all that burden falls in your lap, literally and figuratively. So, case in point, if you want to stop whining and crying and complaining and bitching and bemoaning about the single mother epidemic, there's just one simple thing you can do that can prevent all of that. Keep your panties on. It's just that simple. Now, am I excusing, or are any of us excusing the men for being scuzzbuckets for going around essentially doing that? No, nobody's giving them a free pass. But at the same time, however, understand that how'd they get in? Because, again, as I said, unless it was through a forcible action, there's no way in heaven or hell or anywhere in between the two that these men were going to get inside until somebody actually gave them free access inside and said, here, let's throw all caution to the wind, let's do this. Now, are there exceptions? Yeah. It's called birth control. Now, we also hear this whole angle about, well, the man could have worn a condom. Yeah. He could have also gotten a vasectomy. Or he could have also kept this junk in his pants. But see, those are his only 3 options. What options do women have? Oh, we can go down the list of nearly 2 dozen. Spermicides, sponges, diaphragms, intrauterine devices, Depo-Provera, hormone pills, in those little patches and whatnot. I mean, a whole slew of stuff that's available for women. And why is there so much more for the women than for the men? I don't know. Maybe it has something to do with the fact that only women get pregnant. Hey, you think that might be a reason that women have so much birth control options available to them? I think so. So again, if the whole issue is, what's the problem with all these single mothers and why are people dumping so heavily on the shoulders of single mothers? Maybe it's because you have all the options. Do you ever stop to think about that? If you get it in your clueless head, you're not as powerless, you're not as clueless, you're not as naive as you like to keep pretending that you are, then maybe, just maybe, we could go about fixing the African American community by starting with the whole idea of, hey, maybe if we stop making babies out of wedlock by opening our legs to every irresponsible man out there, then maybe we can motivate our men to actually do something with their lives other than just spreading seed all over the place. Hey, how's that for a concept and an idea? Oh, I'm sorry. Logic bombs. Forgive me. And, of course, I'm wasting more time on this one issue then, because I'm assuming that there are more questions being raised in this thing. So let's find out how much more is being presented and see how much more raw doses of reality I can actually smack people with the red ass with.
I've watched brothers on YouTube give brothers a pass for not being in their children's life.
Bullshit.
I've watched
I've never seen that happen.
Lay down child support and state that a black woman is the only person who is seeking child support, which there's no proof of that. There's no data anywhere of that. I've even tried to research that myself to see, was there some type of way I can find a percentage of who gets child support, but I could not find that. However,
now, first of all, that's more bogus BS. I've never, since I've been alive on this earth, heard anybody claim that only black women seek child support. In fact, if you actually look at realities from these MGTOW and MRA types, you'll find that the overwhelming number of women asking for child support are, guess what, white women. So I don't know where this idea that only black women are asking for child support as a way of excusing the black male single father pandemic is coming from, but you didn't hear that from a black man, I guarantee you.
If you could find that, that would be great to let me know in the comments, but from my research, I haven't seen any of that.
And you never will.
So for me, in other words, I've watched brothers say it's cool to not take care of your child. And that's something that I don't understand. And once again, I see so many people come on and they're like, the problem within the African American community is the single mother.
Absolutely, because who claims to be the backbone of the African American community? Black men? Oh no, whenever we try to be the backbone of the community, we get shot the fuck down. Black women don't want strong black men. They don't want leaders in the African American community. Otherwise, we would have had them. And whenever we did have them, they get martyred. Gee, imagine that. A strong black man as a leader of the black community always seems to always find a bullet. Is anybody ever noticed that? It's a wonder why we don't have any black men trying to take the leadership role in the African American community. Because all they ever see is that as soon as they get a little bit of authority and they start making some positive changes, they miraculously somehow keep catching bullets. And so on that level, you get strong black men out of the equation, and then on the opposite level, you get black women talking about there are no good black men out there, so Let's go mess with Leroy Johnson and C Money out there, and Mad Dog and Pitbull, who got all that thug swag about themselves. And no, they're not all thugs and they're not all swagged out, but there's a mentality. There's a certain air of irresponsibility that the type of black men that black women go after exude about themselves. So they could still be college educated, or they could still work a fine job and make good, decent money, but there's still that attitude, there's still that aura about themselves where there's just that little bit of irresponsibility about themselves, to where you know that they're not going to be there for the long haul, and then you whine and complain about the fact that they're not there for you, or they're not building the community. Again, whose fault is that? Again, women are the moral compass of any society. The men will only do what or not do what the women dictate by way of however manipulative methods that they use. And then, unfortunately, in the case of the African American community, it's through sex. And when black men realize that they can get sex without any responsibility or without any motivation to perfect themselves or to become beacons of or any sort of examples of positivity or anything, as long as black women don't demand that black men excel, then black men are not going to excel, and we're not going to be the leaders of the community that you keep whining and complaining that you want us to be, which inevitably it turns out you really don't want us to be that anyway, because as soon as we start taking control, oh, you're trying to control us, you're trying to dictate terms to us, and you know, we're the strong, we're the backbone of society, and we're the ones taking care of the kids anyway, and you worthless niggas, and y'all don't step up to the plate, and it's the single mothers that are holding us down. And what black man wants to hear that? I'm telling you, fewer and fewer are wanting to hear that. And you know why? You want to see the proof of that? Look outside and see where black men are going nowadays. They look pink. They don't look brown. And their babies, they're various light shades of brown and beigeish color. That's where black men are going. The black men that you said that you wanted, and yet every time they try to put themselves in a position to where, hey, here I am. Oh, you lame, you corny, you this, you that, or you can't, you know, you don't have enough excitement, you don't got enough swag, or you don't have anything to bring to the table, or I'm already holding it down, or no man can tell me what to do. I'm the queen and the goddess of this, that, and the other. You know what? Nobody's man wants to hear that garbage. And so, in order to find acceptance as a man, a real man, they're going to go to wherever they feel that they're going to be appreciated for being men. And in the case of the African American community, sadly, it's to the white woman. And it's happening more and more and more and more. Even in the deep Dixie-ass South, it's happening. This racist redneck society that we live in now, all bets are off in these areas now. And all the time, it's all this whining and complaining on these talk shows and all these radio shows and all these YouTube videos and whatnot. Where are all the good brothers that are? Why is it that every time a black man gets a little bit of success or gets a little bit of money, he's always got Heather and Holly and Tiffany and Lorraine on his under his arm? And yet you still don't get it. You're still making excuses for yourself, because of the fact is that you don't want to come to grips with the reality of your situation, and to the fact that you want all the accolades and all the praise, and you don't want to give up just a little bit of that to help build your man up so that he can build his community up. Don't blame him for your faults and errors.
But the single mother didn't become a mother on her own. She actually needed a man too.
Yes, she did. Yes, she did. Because again, who willingly opened her legs to a man who came along to impregnate her? She would not have been a single mother had she not opened her legs, unless, again, she was forcibly subjected to that situation. And then, if something like that resulted and she decided to say that, hey, even though this came out of a situation of hurt and pain and hatred, I'll still take on this responsibility. Otherwise, there was a thing that we used to do back in the day. It was called, you put your child up for adoption or put them in an orphanage. so you wouldn't have that shame wrapped around you. But see, even black women decide that, well, even if it was a situation like that, well, it's still my child's my baby. And okay, that's your prerogative. You have that right. But again, remember, that's a responsibility that you chose to take on yourself after such a tragic situation. But even if it weren't that, never mind.
Impregnate her. Also, well, no, this is a question again. Why do some brothers feel that a woman gets the final choice of who she has sex with?
Because she does. And like I said, we say this like a mantra and make a joke out of it, but it's 100% reality. We've all seen that slogan around where women have these t-shirts or these posters or stuff that they put up on their little refrigerators. And that's done in mocking fashion, but when you think about it, it really is the truth. I own the pussy, therefore I make the rules. Now typically we don't see it done quite in a literal sense, but as I said before, because of the one who has the vagina is the one who guides society. She is the moral compass of society. And the reason for that is because her sex is so powerful that she can actually manipulate and motivate men to do this, that, or the other, or not to do this, that, or the other. Case in point, the war in Liberia. You know what finally got that war shut down? The black women decided there, of course black women, because there are only black women in Liberia, or the majority of the population, but the women in Liberia decided enough is enough. We're tired of this. The only way that we can think to get through to these men, to get them to the negotiating table, to get them to stop all this bloodshed, to stop tearing our damn country apart, to stop having families torn apart and our sons and our fathers and everything killed and slaughtered and lying all across the battlefield, is the power of our vagina. And so they started this coalition and they said, when you boys decide that you want to stop comparing penis sizes, we're going to keep a lockdown on the pee hole. And so when you decide that you want to figure it out, that's going to be the ruling. And guess what happened? Liberia straightened itself out. Why? Because of the power of the pussy. That's why. So yes, ultimately you dictate, you decide what happens as far as what your family makeup is, and by extension what your community makeup is, and by extension what your society makeup is. Because you have that power, you have that ability, and it all starts and ends based on your choices as a woman. A man can be beating down your door endlessly, non-stop, 24/7 for 3 years straight, begging to get in. But until you let him in, you have no cause of concern about any single mother, this, that, or the other, because you took full responsibility for the direction of your life, your family's life, your community's life, and your society's existence. That power falls solely in the lap of the female. So don't play this game about, women don't have the power to do this. Yes, you do, because the power rests with you. There's not a damn thing that a man can do in this society that if a woman won't allow it, it will not happen. Unless he's such extreme MGTOW where he just decides that, hey, women are irrelevant anyway, so let's just go do our own thing, then those guys are the opposite extreme of that spectrum. But even so, most men want female companionship, or they want female interaction if they don't want the companionship to go along with it. They want female intimacy. And in order to gain that intimacy, the woman has to be agreeable to the kind of intimacy that the man is offering or that he's bringing to the table. And if she's okay with that and consequences result from that, guess what, sister? That falls on you. Not him, you. Because again, as I said, you look at the animal kingdom, that's the way nature operates. And yes, we as humans are animals. Let me keep reiterating that. Our morals aside, we have animalistic instincts. It's our choice to decide whether to act on those instincts or to appeal to our higher intelligence, as it were, and to say that we'll let our moral leanings supersede our instinctive drive. But either way, one way or the other, those decisions are made based upon what the female of the species allows for. So yes, ultimately, that is your power.
Something else I don't understand. I've seen a few, well, actually, I've seen a lot of men say this, that the final choice is up to the woman. So ultimately, the woman makes the decision of having sex with a man, and if she gets pregnant, then that falls back on her. So if you're stating that, then you're stating one of three ideas. One of those ideas could be that women are raping men.
I've heard of grasping at straws before, but I don't even know how to respond to that line of BS, so let me just go ahead and continue.
The other idea could be the old saying that men only think with their penises.
We already know that that's not the case, and we've reiterated it numerous times. And even if it were true, again, they can think with their penises as much as they want to, but until the women decide that they want their men to think with something other than their penises, then the men are just going to keep thinking with their penises, because their penises have already pretty much gotten used to the ideas like, hey, I got free access. If I don't get it from that one, I'll just go down the street to the next one. And there's always more than enough willing ones out there who are just willing to just let it fly to the wind. So if you're concerned about men thinking with their penises, then guess what? Here's an idea. Talk to your sisters. Have a woman's coalition get together and say, hey, let's all get on the same page here. I don't care how much we might want it, how much let's all have a kitty that we all chip into, and we all buy each other dildos. So when we get a case of the hornies, we can get our little bit of satisfaction and play it safe. How's that for an idea? Oh no, that's impersonal, because women are emotional and they need the feedback, and they need that intimacy and that interaction with a male. Well, okay. It's called birth control. If you want it and need it that badly, go down to Planned Parenthood or go to your OBGYN. You've got almost 24 options available to them. Some of them you can get at low cost. Some of them, depending on your income status, you can get for absolutely free. Some of them are very long term. Some of them you have to do a daily regimen. Some of them last a couple of weeks. Some of them last a couple of months. Some of them will last upwards of 10 years with just one application. But these are options you have that men don't have, because I guarantee you, if men had as many options for birth control as women have, you would see an instant reduction in the whole single mother epidemic, or all these unwanted pregnancies, or all these child support cases going to court and everything. But see, we live in a society where men's reproductive rights are treated as irrelevant. We don't have a choice in the matter. It's always the woman's body. Remember that? In fact, that pretty much goes to answer your question right there. Isn't that the whole feminist mantra, always my body, my choice? So now if you're trying to deny that you don't have a choice in what you do with your body, then you're just a helpless victim then. So if you're a helpless victim then you have no rights then. So let's just go ahead, take all your rights that you've earned under feminism, and just go back to the way things used to be and treat you more or less like chattel. Because you're perpetual little children who are irresponsible, who don't know how to take care of themselves, who don't know how to have any responsibility or accountability for anything. Hey, does that sound like a plan maybe? So you got to pick and choose. Either you're going to be adults and you're going to learn how to accept some responsibility and accountability and take responsibility for your own actions and exercise the power that you know you have, or you're just going to be perpetual little children, and let's just take every single right that we ever gave you as women and just say, okay, game over. This new way of thinking, this whole equality thing, is not working for us because you want to stay stuck in a state of perpetual victimhood and perpetual ignorance and perpetual naivete. Then okay, let's start treating you like the little children that you want to be treated like then. You can't have it both ways.
Another one could be that you just think men are stupid. If you think that a man does not have responsibility for who he has sex with, you're basically calling him stupid.
No, we're calling women stupid, essentially. Because see, when men go into this whole mess, we know what we're getting into. See, here's the difference between men who become single fathers and women who become single mothers. Men go into it already knowing that they're risking making somebody pregnant. Whether they care or not, that's a whole different story. But we understand the risk. We know how biology works. But see, so do women. But women like to play helpless little demure, innocent, naive victim. Oh, I'm so ignorant of the way my body works, and I don't know how babies come into the world, and I don't know if this is... And this man, I know, we're just going to have a little fling, and it's going to be over with, and no little accident's going to happen to me. Until it happens to me, it's like, where is he? Where did he go? He left me holding the bag, and I like, wait a minute. You knew going in that you didn't want anything to do with this person, or that you know what the type of person that this was. What were you thinking? You thought that a one-night stand was going to turn into a happily ever after routine? Are you serious? You know, so don't call men stupid for going in there knowing the fact that, hey, all I got to do is just find a willing receptacle, squirt my seed. If she gets knocked up, oh well. Just as long as the law doesn't knock on my door, I'm free and clear. That don't sound stupid to me. What sounds stupid to me is that he gives her all of his information. They find out everything about him, and then she gets knocked up, and then they track him down, and they start garnishing his paycheck. That's when it's stupid for him. Otherwise, any guy who just goes out there, does his little thing, splits the scene, and covers his tracks, guess what? That ain't stupid. That's smart. Because he says, hey, I don't want any responsibility, so I'm going to make sure that I don't have any responsibility. That takes planning. That takes shrewdness. That doesn't take stupidity. What takes stupidity is pretending that you don't know what's going to happen to your body when you let somebody into it. Again, the onus always falls back on the woman. Always. Unless she was subjected forcibly. Then you've got cause for complaint. That's when it's something different. That's when you call it a crime. And that's when you put somebody in jail. Otherwise, you have no cause for complaint. Which is why I wish this family court system would just shut down tomorrow. And things such as AFDC and EBT and all this other stuff, you know, as soon as you drop the financial incentive for these women to actually have babies, especially in the black community, if you take away all those financial incentives, I guarantee you the birth rate would drop dramatically tomorrow. Yeah, I said traumatically. I made up a new word, traumatizing, dramatically, whatever. So let's just say I coined a new term, accidentally, but let's say I coined it anyway. So yeah, because see, the reason that so many black women are out there having all these babies out of wedlock without fathers, these irresponsible fathers, is because there's too much of a financial incentive that's attached to it. That's why it's happening, and that's why it keeps happening. But I guarantee you, you take that out of the equation, you will see a radical shift in the whole dynamic. Black women won't be popping out so many babies out of wedlock so quickly anymore. I guarantee you, because now they have no excuse to be doing it, because suddenly it ain't so glamorous anymore. Now you got to do the hard work yourself. Again, nature. Remember, like I said, you go back to doing it the way nature does it. Male humps, pumps, dumps, and splits the scene. And the female / mommy gets holding the bag and all the responsibility on her laps and her shoulders. Hey, it's all right for the rest of the animal kingdom. They're governed by instincts. That's their natural makeup. They understand that. They don't know any better, because they don't think and rationalize and do all those other philosophical things that we do as human beings. See, our intelligence gets in the way of all that stuff. But see, because we have that intelligence, we should know better than to give in to our base instincts. But ultimately, that's really what it comes down to. So, which are you going to listen to? Again, are you going to listen to your instincts? Or are you going to listen to your rational brain, which is governed by intelligence and rationalization? Again, like I said, can't have it both ways.
That makes absolutely positively no sense to me. So it's one of those things, if you are one of the men that feel that the final choice is up to the woman if she has sex and the man has no say so, once again, you either think men are stupid, or you think that they only think with their penises, or you think that women are raping black men. So
okay, so if those are the shaming tactics that you want to use, then you can throw me right there in that same category then, because you know what, as I've stated a couple of years back already, shaming tactics don't work anymore. So you can say all that you want to say, you can make up whatever fantasy stories that you want to make up, you can skirt, scrape, dodge, deflect, obfuscate, embellish, do whatever the heck you think you want to do to try to make yourself seem like less of a victim. But see, people who pay attention know what's going on. And yes, again, as I said, if you want to keep pretending that you're all a bunch of victims, that you're all helpless and naive little innocent little waifs who don't know any better, who are just constantly being taken advantage of, then let's take all the benefits that we gave you through all these past decades of the feminist movement. Let's just strip you of all that, because you're not responsible enough to exercise that responsibility. That's the only solution. Either that, or put your big girl panties on and woman up. Again, you can't have it both ways. Pick and choose.
for me, you have to pick one of those three answers, because there's no other way that you're saying that this person is not responsible for impregnating someone. That
Hold it. We never said that a man who impregnates a woman is not responsible for impregnating her. Of course he's responsible for impregnating her. The problem is what made him responsible. Because in order for that sperm to get inside of her, she had to have done one of three things. Either grabbed a used condom or a turkey baster or something and inseminated herself after he tried to take responsibility for not getting having that responsibility thrown upon him. Or she went down to a sperm bank where a bunch of men for a couple of bucks decided that, hey, I need to get myself a couple of weeks of groceries and whatnot because college is killing me, and this is an easy way doing this, and I'm scared of needles, so I won't sell blood. Or they can just say, hey, I'll just find somebody who's an open, willing receptacle. But those are the only ways that sperm is going to get inside of a woman. And if it gets inside the woman the natural way, then yes, he's responsible for impregnating her. But that's all he's responsible for. Legally, no, you're right. Legally speaking, he has some responsibility for that. But I'm talking about nature again. Naturally, he has no responsibility except to dump his seed and move on. That's all the responsibility he has. So he's done his job. Now again, as I said, if that's the whole thing that you want to talk about is like, oh, men are denying their responsibility. No, they're not. Because again, like I said, we don't delude ourselves into understanding how babies get made. The problem with us is we just don't give a shit. That's basically what it comes down to. We just want to get our jollies off, and at the risk of knocking a woman up, we'll do it. And hey, you know what? It's fun. And you know what makes it fun? Is because we don't get to carry the burden after the fact. When we pump and dump and jump, we're free and clear until the law catches up with us. But again, you take that out of the equation, what do you have left? An impregnated woman stuck with the responsibility, more than likely by herself, unless the man decides, hey, I want to be a family. But if he doesn't want to be a family, then even that, in a sense, goes against nature. But again, like I say, let's just appeal to his goodness and say, hey, okay, you know, I feel responsible for that. I want to help contribute, and I want to be an influence in the baby's life. Good for him. Bravo. Let's give him some applause and some accolades. But you know what? He doesn't have to. That's not his job. Because at the end of the day, the reason that men run around having sex so much with as many willing receptacles as they can have sex with, it comes down to the one simple truth. Men don't get pregnant. Now, were that situation flipped on its head, I guarantee you'd see a hell of a lot more men being responsible with their sex. Trust me. Once that burden of responsibility fell into our laps, literally, when we had to go through all the burdens of going through the hormonal changes and the changes of our physical body shape and squeezing something out of us, and then being stuck being the primary, if not sole caretaker of that which was produced within us, I guarantee you would not see the same level of, unless of course there was the economic incentive for us to. But again, as I said, as long as that economic incentive is out there, you're going to see the single parent situation skyrocket. And I dare say it would be the same for men, were we the ones who had to carry the term and be the primary, or if not sole caregivers of any children that were produced. So trust me, it all comes down to who has the ultimate responsibility. Who has the ultimate responsibility for rearing the child, for giving life to that child, for birthing the child, for going through all those responsibilities with a child? Ultimately, that's not the man's responsibility, because we don't carry anything. We're a delivery system. That's the setup. I'm not saying it's right and fair or whatever. That's just the way God and nature made us. So you have to come to that understanding. You have to come to that realization. You have to come to that appreciation. Mother is the vessel. As such, the ultimate burden of responsibility falls on your shoulders and on your laps. Is the man responsible for impregnating you? You damn skippy. But being responsible for being an implantation system does not automatically make him responsible for caring for your spawn. Because realistically speaking, he doesn't have to be in the picture. Because we do not reproduce through parthenogenesis. One of us has to be the delivery system. The other has to be the receptacle and the what do you call that? Never mind. I'm getting a little tongue-tied and starting to hyperventilate a little bit. So let me just go ahead and go through this thing.
this woman is solely responsible because she had sex with him and she had the final say so. That's pretty stupid to me.
Of course, because you want to live in denial. And see, again, as I said, if that's the attitude that women want to take with this responsibility for bringing life into the world, if all you want to do is just pass the buck and pass the blame on somebody else and claim that you're just a perpetual victim, that it's not your fault, or that I'm as powerless and I'm so weak and everything, that I'm so unintelligent and so dumb and so stupid and so naive that I don't know how reality works, then again, let's strip you of every gain that you ever made through the history of feminism, and let's just send you back to the position of where you're essentially property again, because you can't make your own decisions for yourselves, because you don't know anything about accepting responsibility for yourselves. That's the only answer. Otherwise, you have to learn to stop being a victim. Put your big girl panties on and be a woman. Time to stop being a little girl.
My other question. Black men, are you okay with women wearing makeup? Let's say lip gloss or lipstick, mascara, foundation, eyeshadow, blush, Spanx, which that's not a makeup, but Spanx are kind of built to push your fatting, kind of like to make you look like you don't have a stomach.
It kind of goes against what was originally leading up to it, but I'll answer that real quickly. When men wear toupees, when men decide to get exfoliated and all these other little things that they do, or if they get a little bit up there in years and they want to get facelifts and dye their hair and try to pass themselves off as men 10 or 20 years younger than what they really are, don't complain. Because all we ever get from women with this stuff with makeup and all these girdles and everything are essentially, you're lying to us. So don't turn it around when we decide to lie back at you. So this whole mess about, you always have to present yourself as something that you're not. And I'm speaking for myself personally on this one, because I like truth and honesty in everything. And so I've never really warmed up to these whole ideas about painting yourself over and covering yourself up, or trying to make yourself look younger, or make yourself look more mature, or make yourself look more this, that, the other. But I don't know, there's some guys out there, like I said, I don't know where it comes from, but then again, think about it from this angle of it too. Since we're talking a lot about nature, if you ever notice, the most colorful and most flamboyant, or the most showy of the animals in the rest of the animal kingdom is always the male. So how did it get flipped around with humans to where all that stuff falls into the lap of the female? Why did they usurp what was naturally part of the male being? That's just my thoughts and views on that. But anyway, let me skip past this one, because like I said, this really doesn't tie in with the
Are you okay with, if you say you don't have a problem with any of those things, then you should not have a problem with a weave, because makeup is just as unnatural as a weave is.
And there we actually find a point of agreement.
Even if you don't have a problem with a woman painting her nails, that's unnatural. Nobody's nails come in red, pink.
Oh my gosh, here's somebody now, after all this past half an hour or whatever, talking about natural and nature. Now suddenly you understand the concept of natural and nature. Gee, imagine that. I mean, it's a miracle and epiphany from the heavens above that you understand the concept of natural and nature. Oh, that's right, but only when it benefits you. I keep forgetting. We're talking to a nation of hypocrites. It's only when it benefits you and it fulfills your concept and your position and your viewpoint on situations that, hey, it's all right for me to apply it in situations that I'm passionate about, but situations that you're passionate about, well, you're not allowed to go there. So the hypocrisy of a black woman just reeks and reeks and reeks and reeks and reeks. And see, again, this is why black men are frustrated. This is why we just can't rely on our women anymore to get our backs anymore, because you keep proving false to all your claims about wanting strong black families and strong black communities and black love. You don't want none of that stuff, because all you're about is excuse making. And ever since the days of desegregation, that's all you've ever been about. You let this feminist jargon just corrupt your brains. They made you believe to think that you had some issues with black men that you didn't have with them. This was a white woman's issue. But you got in on their bandwagon, and then you started shoving your black men in front of the train, and they did everything they could to placate you, to kowtow to you, to kiss your feet, to schmooze up to you, to sing you love songs and write you poetry, and to become men of character and honor. And you just constantly pissed and crapped upon them, to where suddenly they realize that, hey, if our own women don't want us, then let's go to another woman who actually does want us. And then you turn it back around and try to throw the guilt-tripping shame tactics. What's wrong with black women? Why are you hating on black women? Why are you going after those white women? White women don't want you. They only want you for your penis, or they just want you, or y'all just selling out your community, and the black community is going to die without you. And we're tired of it. All this shaming tactics and all these guilt trips about trying to keep black men in their place, trying to keep them at your side beneath you. That's why black men are turning against black women. Has nothing to do against hating black women. We keep trying to say time and again, we love black women, but you don't want our love. Oh, our black men are leaving us. No, they aren't. Your black men are not leaving you because you don't have any black men. They're not your black men. Because if they were your black men, you would want them when they tried to do right. Especially when you say that that's what you want them to do. Oh, we want you to love and accept us and appreciate us for what we are. And then we try to do that, but then we try to present ourselves to you the exact same way. Hey, this is who we are. This is what we're about. This is what we have to offer. Oh, you don't measure up. You're not exciting enough, or you're not rich enough, or you're not glamorous enough, or you're not swagalicious enough, or you're not rough enough, or you're not, or you're too bookish, or you're too this, that, and the other. Or after a while, a dog realizes when you're mistreating it, and at that stage of the game, as loyal as a pack animal as a dog is, at some point in the game, after being constantly and repeatedly mistreated, it's going to have a moment of waking up. And when it wakes up, it's going to do one of two things. It will either turn on you and savagely attack you. Black woman bashers, oh, you're black woman bashers, oh, y'all hating black women, y'all are hating on black women, you're just, and y'all mothers was black, and do you talk to your black mothers like that because you're the black woman? Or they'll just leave you and maybe find another pack someplace else, or maybe just be a lone wolf somewhere. Oh, y'all leaving us for black women. Oh, what? Why y'all hate the sisters? You must hate your own. You're self-hating because you think black women are ugly, and so you got to run after white women because white women, they'll just let you walk all over them. And, well, okay, well, there are your two options. Like I said, you keep abusing a dog. Soon enough, and I might as well use the dog analogy also anyway, because what do we always hear from black women other than niggas ain't shit? Y'all niggas are dogs. Okay, like I said, an abused dog will do one of two things. It will either viciously turn on you, or it'll decide that, hey, I'm tired of being abused, and it will run to some place where it won't be abused anymore. And it'll either join another pack someplace else, or it'll just live out the rest of its days as a lone wolf. But this is the reality that you have made of black men. And you don't see, don't let me take that back. You do see it. But see, you've been so conditioned and so pumped up to believe that you're the supreme being, mother of the earth. Well, guess what? While you're talking all that mother of the earth stuff, you want to take all the responsibility and all the credit for being mother of the earth, and yet we just got through about an hour ago talking about how mothers come into being through a man, through a father. So how are you going to be mother of the earth without the father of the earth standing right there at your side? Explain that to me. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm getting a headache and I'm hyperventilating and I'm starting to get dizzy and I feel like I'm going to faint. Why? Because I'm still dropping these logic bombs. And logic bombs hurt my head. Because it's just so blatantly obvious. It's so blatantly obvious. Not just to everybody else out there in existence, but it's blatantly obvious to you. You don't need to ask these questions because you already know the answers. So why do you keep subjecting us to this? Oh, that's right, because it's all about that whole guilt-tripping, shaming tactic thing. That's why. Anything to shove the blame into the laps of the men. And yes, as I've said constantly, and as I said repeatedly, and as I will continue to say, you're absolutely right. It is the black man's fault. Always. And it always will be. But it's also the black man's responsibility to decide whether or not he takes the blame, or whether or not he keeps going down the path that causes the situation to be at what it is. You have the power to change that, to direct it, to motivate it, to push it from one side or the other. But see, our weakness as black men is that we should care shit about what you think. We should just do what we know we need to be doing because we're men. So ultimately, that's our fault. But we're not stupid about it either. We know that that's where our fault lies. Our problem is we're too weak and we're too lazy and we don't want to make the effort, so we fall into the whole trap that you lay out for us, which is, here honey, black pussy for you, come get some. And if it's that easy, if it's always going to be that easy, then we're not going to make the efforts and take the steps that we know we need to make in order to do better. And if we do, and then we find out that it's not going to be appreciated by those whom should be the very first ones that we turn to, so-called our black women, and we find out if we're putting forth all these efforts and making all these positive steps in the right direction for their benefit, for your benefit, and you don't appreciate it, as I've said numerous times, we are men first before we are black. And with that basic understanding, if by being a man first, and the nature of a man is to want to have the companionship of a woman, and we cannot find proper acceptance and a true companion in a woman of our own, then we'll go someplace else to find her. That's what's happening to the African American community. That's what's happening to African American women. And this is the reality you refuse to allow yourselves to accept, because you want to have it all, and you want to accept all the credit and none of the blame. You want all the perks and none of the responsibility that goes along with earning those perks. That's why black men are turning against you. That's why black men are being irresponsible. That's why the few black men who actually do stay in your corner treat you like basically a used tampon. It's like you're there to serve a need. And then when your purpose is done, you're tossed aside. We don't invest any emotion in you. Why should we? You don't demand it. And when you do demand it, you're not being realistic about it. You're not being sincere about it. That's what it comes down to. In fact, I don't even need to play out the rest of this video. I'm done. Because you just totally contradicted yourself from about the first 3-4 minutes of this thing. You're going through this whole thing about how men are responsible for this, that, and the other, and how it's all our fault and how it's all our responsibility, when I laid it out for you that it's based on animalistic nature, and then into upwards toward the fifth minute of the whole thing, suddenly you want to acknowledge nature. Oh, so when it has something to do with something that's totally irrelevant, like painting your face or wearing a weave, oh, you want to invoke nature then. But when it comes to the nature about how life is formed and who gets stuck with the burden of responsibility, suddenly nature gets thrown out the window. F you. You know, this is the hypocrisy, and this is the double standard, and this is the total arrogance of black women, that black men have decided that enough is enough. We've tried, we've explained it, we've tried to placate you in every possible way that we could, until we got tired of being bitch beat all the damn time, and time to say, hey, look, here's some of our pain. We've listened to you, we've heard you, we tried to do everything your way. Now you need to understand where we're coming from. Here's what you need to understand about us. And then all you do is shut us down, and then just keep throwing the guilt trips and the shaming tactics, and then dumping all the blame and the burden on our shoulders. No, it doesn't work that way. Game over. That's why there's this wall of, I call it the wall of rejection. You know, Soul and Black popularized the wall of silence. But see, I call it the wall of rejection because there's not a lot of silence going on. There's a lot of complaining going on, and complaints does not equal silence. But I understand the concept is that, you know, we've tried, we keep trying, we keep trying to explain it to you. You don't want to hear it. And so the wall of silence, as it's being practiced, is really the wall of rejection. We're turning our backs on you, black woman. But in turning our backs on you, we're explaining why we're turning our backs on you, giving you the final shred of little spark of hope or opportunity to think that just maybe, if you catch on to this little last flickering fleck of a little dying flame here, that maybe you might be able to restoke that and to build it up to the roaring flame that it once was. But see, you're so stupid and you're so arrogant and you're so high upon yourselves that all you're going to do is just complain about the fire going out, and you're not going to do anything to actually help try to keep the fire alive and keep the flame going and try to build it back up. And then so when the fire goes out, you want to blame the fire for going out. It doesn't work that way. So essentially, that's really what it all comes down to. You didn't want it. You don't want it. You probably never will want it. If you want anything to try to fix this thing, I don't know if it can be fixed. At this point in the game, like I said, I don't believe it can be. And I think the few black women that are out there, the ones who really do have a concept, who really have a full, firm grasp of this, who recognize and see what's happening, who know what's going on, and see the stakes that they're fighting for, and realizing that the decent black men that they know that they really want, the ones that everybody claims they want, are so few and in between that they're finding that it's going to be 10 times harder for them to appeal to those black men than it is for them to just go outside the race to find female companionship with somebody who loves them, who honors them, who respects them, who cherishes them. Then these black women who don't fall down this whole path of self-delusion, they're going to be stuck either black manless, i.e. manless, or they're going to have to take their losses and realize that, shoot, because of the buffoonery and the all of this brainwashed mental this whole delusion that black women have just forced upon us, in order for us to break out of that stuff, because now, because of them, because of their ignorance, because of their lack of accountability, black men are turning away from all of us, and that includes us good ones, those of us who really can contribute something. So our options is, maybe we need to start looking to white men to appreciate us, because black men they're just dropping the ball on us. They're going their own separate way. They're going into the arms of somebody who's not black anymore, despite the fact that, hey, there are still a few of us out here saying, please give us a chance, but they don't want to take that chance because they see what they have to deal with from the vast majority of black women. And so black women's answer is going to be, well, I'm a woman before I'm a black woman. And so if I can't find a decent black man, because the decent ones are essentially running out going after white women, well, I guess maybe my answer is to find a white man who will appreciate me. So at least that way I'll have a good man in my life. He may not be a black man, but he'll be a good man, and he'll recognize that I'm not on this bullshit that the greater bulk of black women are on. And as a result of what's going to be happening, as a result of black women continuing to play this little delusional game of my shit don't stink, it's what Sergeant Willie Pete originally called, correctly, the light-skinned elite. He wants to do backpedaling now. Everybody wants to backpedal now, call it a brown community. But no, it's not a brown community, because we already had a brown community. There's always been brown communities. This is something different. This is something where the black race is going to find its salvation in multiracial relationships and multiracial children. I hate to say that, but the way that the situation is going, that's ultimately going to be the case. And it was that way back in the day, but only back in the day, it was the result of segregation and Jim Crow. It was something that was forced upon us. Now we have a choice. And black women, unfortunately, don't want to keep the good parts at home, so to speak. See, they'd rather just have a hands-off policy and just keep acting as though it's not anything that's important, that's anything valuable, that's worth cherishing, that's worth holding onto, because it is something that's of such great value that you want to be enriched by it. You just want to chunk it out there and throw it out to out on the street. Somebody who recognizes the value for what it is, they're going to snatch it up, and they're going to get it appraised, and they're going to reap the value from it that you didn't see from it. And guess whose fault that is? That's right, it's your fault, black woman. Because you had every opportunity to fix it, to change it, to adjust it, to manipulate it, to mold it, to reshape it. And all you wanted to do was complain and to pass the buck. So when the fit hits the shan, when it all comes back in your face and you're left holding an empty bag, just remember, you're the one who decided that it wasn't worth your holding on to or your maintaining, and that you didn't want to be the one to actually recognize what part that you played in the downfall of your own community. End of line.